Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I want to show you how I go about creating flower beds or annual beds. We start a lot of annual flowers from seed here at the house. We also buy in a couple things, and there'll be separate videos on what's going into these spaces here in the back garden and in the front garden. I'll show you how some of the combos that we're using for this season. Right here, I had recently made this little turf area smaller and put a really nice edge on it. It's about to become a patio, and alongside of it, we had planted some pansies back in the fall, which didn't look great all winter. They're just starting to look good now. Unfortunately, I am taking them out of the ground because again, they've underperformed, and I want to create a wider, newer space for this year's annual flowers. December, we had a really tough freeze that knocked those pansies back big time. So getting rid of those to get started in this space, and then coming along and pulling any weeds that I have. And we let the leaves fall in the garden and just lay where they are. We mulch over them in the spring. A few of those leaves had blown into the annual bed area where the pansies were, and so those need to be cleaned out. Just want to get down to bare soil and eliminate any weeds as well. There's some poa annua that was growing in this lawn area that's spread out into the beds as well. All of those weeds need to go away. This is a trenching shovel, and all I'm actually doing here is sticking this trenching shovel. It's a narrow shovel, so it's easy to kind of work the soil with, easy to stick down into the ground, much easier than a wider full-size shovel. All I'm doing here is sticking the shovel down in the ground about 6 inches and pulling back. I'm not actually flipping the soil over. I'm not really tilling it. I'm just aerating it. So sticking the shovel down in the ground, pulling back maybe 3-4 inches, and just creating a little air pocket down in the soil. I have heavy clay soils, and this is the best way to just kind of break that base up. Because what I'm trying to do is get these annuals to these flowering things that we grow along the edges of these turf areas and patio areas and paths in the garden to really perform. I only have about 6 or 7 months with these flowers, so I want to get all I can out of them, and I need them to be able to root as deep down in the ground as possible. That will also eliminate a lot of the watering that I have to do, because the more porous this soil is, the more receptive it's going to be to rain and water, and allow it to soak down in the ground and give these flowers plenty of water. So you can see the result of this is just, I didn't really till it. I just basically stuck the shovel down in the ground and pulled back on it. You can see some weeds I still need to get out of here before I move on to the next step. And I want to show you this clay. This is my red clay soil that I can form into little balls here. We've amended the soil a lot over the years, and so it's improved in the top few inches, but that base still has, heavy clay soils. I'm using the Soil Cube compost for this space. In the past, I've used compost and pine bark soil conditioner, but I realize a lot of people watching my channel can't find pine bark soil conditioner. It's mostly in the southeast United States where we have all the pine trees. And so I'm just using pure compost in this, and I'm bringing it back here in a cart. That Soil Cube is available. Compost is available in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. You can get, of course, compost at your municipal waste place in the city that you live in. They usually have some sort of composting program. You can get it at a mulch yard. Of course, you can make your own compost as well. But this is great material. It's easy to spread. It's easy to move around in the garden. That little cart makes quick work of getting it back to the back garden. And then I'm just raking it out smoothly. If there's a couple of those big clay clumps that come to the top, I'll break them up some. There's still some weeds there that needed to be eliminated, and so I want to get all the weeds out of this space. Weeds are definitely the enemies of your flowers during the growing season, and we want to make sure that they're not stealing nutrients and stealing sunlight, and especially since I'm putting down. This isn't the least expensive material in the world that I'm using here, and I don't want it using up the nutrients that are in it. I don't do a lot of fertilizing on my annual plants, on my flower borders, because I'm using all this compost. I'll maybe fertilize twice in an entire season. No, I'm not overdoing the fertilizer. So just smoothing it out. That's basically it. I have about a 1 to 2 inch base of compost plus the soil underneath it has been broken up a bit. I'm trying not to put a whole lot of foot traffic in it at this point because I don't want to recompact that clay base soil at all. I was short a little bit of compost here, so just added a little bit more. And again, you can see I've got a crispy edge here in the back garden around where this this is going to be a patio, but in the front garden I had not edged yet. So we'll move out here and just going to go around and edge this turf. I've got some poa annua in this zoysia grass as well that I need to eliminate. That's the green you're seeing. The brownish part of the turf here is actually zoysia grass that's dormant. Should be waking up any minute now, but that poa annua has I needed to give it a little more attention this winter and pull some of that out of there. I'm just going around putting a little crispy edge along the edge of the turf, getting out any of the zoysia grass that's crept up into the flower bed from last year. That's that little clump you see that I threw out on the lawn, and just giving it this, again, this really nice crispy edge. I'm not going to take all the pansies out in this front garden because the flowering things I'm putting out here take a little while to get going. So I'm just thinning a few of these pansies out. They'll last until June. So I didn't see any reason to pull all of these out. The things I planted in the back flower bed, which you'll see in a video in a couple days, will just get right to blooming. And so, I went ahead and took the pansies out. But in this case, I just thinned the pansies a bit. I'm putting some ageratum and a couple other things you'll see in a video. It'll take a month or two for those to start blooming. In the meantime, I can enjoy these pansies. So put the crispy edge on, thinned the pansies some, pulled the weeds, and now adding some more of this soil cube compost to this bed. Again, you can use whatever compost is available to you. And if you can find pine bark soil conditioner, I love to mix the compost and the pine bark together. Those two things together, that pine bark is great for adding a bit of drainage, and also keeping the soil from recompacting. And the annuals are able to root down into that easily. So we use all kinds of flowers out here. So we start a lot of things from seed. So you'll see salvias and ageratum and zinnias and vinca and angelonia and so on and so forth. So if you're following along with the videos, you'll see all the things that get planted into these flower borders. But this is the prep that goes into it. It's just putting down a new compost layer every season. And the reason I'm putting down a new compost layer for my annuals and my vegetables is I only get a short season out of these, right? You only get a little bit of time with these annuals every season, and so you want to get the most out of them that you possibly can since you're putting so much time and energy into it. But I do this on the cheap, guys. Most of the things we do are from seed, and you can follow along with the channel and watch those videos. You'll see that, I think this front annual bed, I spent $2.29 plus a few packs of annuals that I bought. So thanks for following along with the channel.